So let's talk about artificial intelligence. In a lot of ways, it's a technology that holds up a mirror to us, to humanity. It reflects our biggest dreams, and sometimes our deepest flaws. It promises to change literally everything, but as we build these powerful new minds, we have to face a really critical question.
Right. I mean, AI is being designed to make our lives better, safer, more efficient. But what happens when the solutions end up creating entirely new and sometimes way more complicated problems? Let's dive into why that answer is so important. And you can really see this tension play out. The promise? It's huge. We're talking about massive boosts in productivity and, hey, maybe even reducing human risk in dangerous jobs. But then there's the flip side, the peril, and it's just as real. We're now dealing with things like algorithmic discrimination, a false sense of security, the potential for widespread deception, and this really murky area of accountability when things inevitably go wrong.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with what's called the black box problem. Then we'll get into the fascinating and tricky world of engineering empathy. And finally, we'll look at the ethical blueprint that people are trying to build for a better AI future.
All right, first up, the black box problem. This is seriously one of the biggest ethical hurdles in AI today, and it comes from a pretty basic issue. A lot of the time, we have no idea how the AI is making its decisions. So what exactly is a black box AI? Well, think of it like this. Imagine a master chef creates some amazing, brilliant dish. You can see the ingredients that went in, that's the input, and you can see the final meal on the plate, that's the output. But that secret recipe, the exact steps that happened in the kitchen, it's a total mystery. That's a black box AI. Its own logic is so complicated, even the people who built it can't fully explain it. And listen, this is way more than just a tech puzzle for engineers to solve. When we can't see the reasoning, we can't check it for fairness, we can't check it for logic, and we can't check for hidden biases that can have absolutely devastating consequences in the real world. That opacity can basically become a cover for some really harmful discrimination. Now, check this out. This is where it gets really concrete and honestly kind of shocking. Researchers gave different AI models the classic trolley problem, that famous ethical thought experiment. And what they found was that the AI's decision to save someone was hugely influenced by their nationality. I mean, look at these numbers. One model is 35% more likely to save a French person, while another is nearly 30% less likely. This isn't just theory. This is bias literally written into the code. And the real-world stakes are incredibly high. When these hidden biases creep into our systems, you get things like flawed predictive policing that unfairly target certain communities. You get people being denied loans or insurance for reasons they can't even see. In hospitals, you might get doctors who become a little too complacent, just trusting a system they assume is perfect. It all leads to a loss of human dignity and a dangerous false sense of security. Okay, so that leads us to our next section. We're going to shift gears from the cold logic of bias to the messy, complicated world of emotion. We're talking about engineering empathy, and we're asking a pretty deep question. Can a machine ever be designed to actually care?
And this isn't science fiction. It's happening right now. AI is being built to be our companion, our confidant, even our therapist. The whole idea is to create systems that can pick up on our emotions and respond in a way that builds trust and feels supportive. But there's a huge disconnect. This quote here, it just hits you, right? It comes from a study where a user, in a moment of real vulnerability, reached out to a chatbot for help. And the response they got was this canned, robotic, and deeply unhelpful message. A very human cry for help was met with a cold, programmed wall.
And that one incident just perfectly captures the massive gap between a simulated emotional reaction and genuine human understanding. See, an AI is just playing the odds. It's pursuing its goals statistically, not morally. It learns which phrases are most likely to work, but it doesn't feel anything. It's creating what you can only call an illusion of empathy. And if you need proof that it's often just a script, get this. One analysis of AI responses found that a staggering 89.3% of them used the same formulaic phrase, "I'm sorry." Now, that's not a sign of widespread machine compassion. That's the telltale sign of a script, a statistical pattern the machine has learned is effective no matter the context. So it all forces us to ask this really tricky question. What are the dangers when we put our trust in systems that are masters of imitation, that can act human, but fundamentally lack any real humanity? The risks of deception, of misplaced trust are just enormous. Now, it's easy to get down about all the problems, but there is a path forward. And that brings us to our final section, the ethical blueprint that technologists and policymakers are trying to create to build a safer, more responsible AI.
And this isn't some fringe movement either. We're talking about major global players, like the European Union and the IEEE, which is the world's biggest organization of its kind. And they are tackling these challenges head on. They're developing these detailed frameworks to make sure ethics are baked into AI right from the start. So what does this blueprint actually look like? Well, it's built on 5 key ideas. First, uphold human rights. Simple as that. Human well-being has to be number 1. Second, ensure traceability. So if something goes wrong, we can figure out why. That's the direct answer to the black box problem. Third, demand transparency. We need explainable AI so people can actually understand the decisions being made about them. Fourth, promote accountability so it's always clear who's responsible. And finally, number 5, embed our values right into the design process. Make ethics a core feature, not an afterthought.
And it is so crucial to understand this. The point of all this isn't to slam the brakes on innovation. It's the opposite, really. It's to steer all that incredible creative power in a direction that lines up with our best and most important human values. Because at the end of the day, the future of AI isn't some tidal wave that's just going to wash over us. It's something we are all actively building every single day, with every algorithm and every choice we make. We all have a part to play in this. Which brings us right back to where we started, that AI mirror. If this technology is a reflection of us, our priorities, our principles, then the most important question we can possibly ask is this: what do we want it to reflect? The best of who we are, or the biases we'd rather leave behind? The choice is ours to make.